Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelenskyy spent the day at the White House meeting with President Biden and Vice President Harris. Today, the president announced a new $8 billion military aid package for Kyiv. It includes missiles that have a longer range than previously supplied weapons did. White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby joins me now to discuss. John, thanks for being with us. This aid package to Ukraine, it includes additional Patriot battery and air defense missiles. How is this going to help advance Ukraine's effort to fend off Russia?
Well, what you're seeing in this series of announcements that the president made today are really a range of initiatives, all designed to make sure that Ukraine has what it needs to prevail on the battlefield in coming months, all the way to the end of the year. So the big thing that the president did was make sure that he authorized the entire $5+ billion of PDA authorized for DoD, so that they can now start allocating that over the course of the next few months and towards the end of the year. That's the big thing that really came out of this. And again, what you'll see in these packages as they get announced and rolled out, as you have seen in the past, are the kinds of capabilities that are really needed on the battlefield right now. And that'll change over time as the battlefield changes. But air defense is a key priority, artillery and ammunition, armored vehicles, and, of course, some long-range strike missiles as well.
And did President Biden authorize that all that money go out now before the end of the year because he's concerned that if former President Trump wins the election, he might have a very different Ukraine policy come January?
He did that because he wants to make sure that we spend every dollar that Congress appropriated for us to help Ukraine, and that we have a clear path forward over the next few months to do that until the money runs out. And he wanted to make sure every dollar was spent in supporting Ukraine.
Volodymyr Zelenskyy was expected to present the president today with what he described as a victory plan. And I know that he's been sort of talking about that with world leaders at the UN all week. What can you tell us about that victory plan and how new, how developed it really is?
Well, I'll certainly let the Ukrainians speak to the details of it. It basically lays out a series of things that they believe that they will need to be able to enact a just and lasting peace and have Ukraine's sovereignty fully respected. The president and our team have had an initial briefing of the plan, and what the president wants is for our two teams to continue to talk about it, continue to review it and analyze it, and try to get a little bit more granularity about what's in it and what the feasibility is. But separate and distinct from that, the other message the president has delivered to President Zelenskyy here today is not only are we going to be with you right up until the end of this administration, he's going to continue to have all the support that he needs, but that we want to make sure, however victory is defined, however the war ends, when and if and under what circumstances, that it's being done through the lens of what's President Zelenskyy's vision. And what he believes is right for the people of Ukraine. As the president has said many times, nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine.
I want to switch to the Mideast because last night the White House announced to great fanfare this 21-day ceasefire proposal. It worked in concert with other G7 allies, and the White House said that Israel was on board with this proposal to impose a 21-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Now, the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, says any reports of an imminent ceasefire are incorrect, and you've got Israeli military officials saying they're preparing for a possible ground invasion of Lebanon. What is going on here? Where is the disconnect?
Well, look, I would tell you a couple of things. First, I've seen Prime Minister Netanyahu's comments. We believe, and the dozen or so other nations that signed on to that call urging a ceasefire, believe that an all-out war is not in Israel's best interest. It's not in anybody's best interest. And we're going to do everything we can to try to prevent that outcome, because we think, again, that's not in the Israeli people's best interest. Number two, we had multiple conversations, not just amongst ourselves, but also with Lebanon and also with Israel before that statement went out. There were multiple conversations with our interlocutors there, and we wouldn't have issued it if we weren't comfortable in those conversations. And the last thing I'd say is the conversation continues right up here in New York City. Well, I'm in Washington, but up in New York City, where the General Assembly is still going on, we still have representatives from the National Security Council up there and the State Department talking to our Israeli counterparts and having discussions about how to see if we can't move this forward. So look, there's lots of things that are said in public, and we recognize that. I'll let Prime Minister speak to that, but I can tell you that the private discussions that we had yesterday and we're having today with our Israeli counterparts are ongoing.
I want to get your reaction to this indictment of New York City Mayor Eric Adams, because there is a potential national security implication when you've got a mayor of a major American city accused of taking money from foreign officials, in this case Turkish officials, in exchange for what federal prosecutors allege are favors. What are the national security implications of a case like that? It's so reminiscent of what happened with Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey. That was just Egypt rather than Turkey.
Well, I sure hope you'll understand that I'm not going to talk about an ongoing investigation or these charges levied today. That's really for the Justice Department to speak to. I know they have, and I'll certainly refer to them for any future conversations.
Understood. John Kirby of the National Security Council, thanks so much for being with us. I appreciate it.
You bet.